Take a look at what you're wearing right now. A t-shirt, a hoodie, a dress, a pair of jeans. Whatever it is, you probably didn't think twice before putting it on. But have you ever wondered, who was the very first human to wear clothes? Who looked at an animal, removed its skin, and thought, I should wear this? Today, clothes protect us from freezing winters, scorching summers, sharp objects, and even help express who we are. But for most of human history, none of that existed. No cotton, no fashion brands, no sewing machines, not even a single button. So how did humans go from wearing absolutely nothing to creating billion-dollar fashion industries? The answer begins long before civilization, when the only purpose of clothing wasn't to look good. It was simply to stay alive. Level 1. When humans wore nothing. Believe it or not, the first humans probably didn't wear clothes at all, and they didn't need to. Millions of years ago, our early ancestors lived in warm parts of Africa, where freezing temperatures were rare. As humans evolved, they also lost much of the thick body hair that covered earlier ancestors, helping them cool down while walking and hunting under the hot sun. If the weather stayed warm, there was little reason to cover up. Instead of clothes, people relied on shade, rivers, caves, and the cooler hours of the day to avoid overheating. Their bodies were perfectly adapted for the environment they lived in. But nature never stays the same forever. As human groups slowly migrated out of Africa into colder parts of Europe and Asia, everything changed. The same body that handled tropical heat suddenly faced freezing winds, snow, and deadly winters. Without protection, survival became nearly impossible. Humanity needed its very first outfit. Level 2. The first jacket was an animal. Imagine you've just helped hunt a giant deer. The meat feeds your family, the bones become tools. But one thing is left behind, the skin. At first, it may have been used as a blanket while sleeping, but sooner or later, someone wrapped it around their body. Everything changed. Animal hides trapped body heat, blocked cold winds, and protected the skin from rain, scratches, and icy weather. For the first time, humans could survive in places that had once been far too cold to live in. Archaeologists believe this simple idea helped humans spread across much of the world during the Ice Age. It wasn't fashion, it wasn't beauty, it was survival. But there was still a problem. Fresh animal skin quickly rotted. It became stiff, smelly, and unusable. If clothing was going to become a permanent part of human life, people needed to learn how to make it last. And that discovery would turn simple animal hides into the world's first real clothing. Level 3. The day humans learned to make clothes last killing an animal was only half the job. Keeping its skin usable was the real challenge. Fresh hides spoiled quickly. After only a short time, they became stiff, rotten, and impossible to wear. Ancient humans had to experiment. Some stretched the hides under the sun. Others scraped away fat and leftover flesh using sharp stone tools. Over thousands of years, people discovered that rubbing animal brains, fat, or plant oils into the hide made it softer and more flexible. Smoke from campfires also helped preserve the leather and slowed decay. Without knowing chemistry, they had accidentally invented one of the earliest forms of leather making. The difference was enormous. Instead of replacing clothing after every hunt, families could wear the same hide for much longer. They could travel farther, survive colder winters, and spend more time hunting instead of constantly making new clothes. But another problem remained. Simply wrapping animal skin around your body wasn't very practical. It slipped, it flapped in the wind, and it made running almost impossible. Humans needed a better solution. They needed clothes that actually fit. Level 4. The world's first fashion designers long before sewing machines, long before scissors, and long before anyone had heard the word fashion, someone invented the sewing needle, not from metal, but from bone. Archaeologists have discovered carefully carved bone needles dating back tens of thousands of years. Many even had tiny eyes, allowing animal sinew, strong fibers taken from tendons, to be threaded through them. It was one of humanity's greatest inventions. Instead of wrapping hides around the body, people could now stitch them together. Sleeves appeared, leg coverings became possible, shoes fit more securely, Hoods protected the head from snow and wind. For the first time, clothes were made for the person, not just from the animal. This was a turning point. Better-fitting clothing meant hunters could move faster, waste less body heat, and survive harsher climates. Entire families could settle in regions that had once been too cold to inhabit. Without realizing it, those ancient needlemakers had become the world's first tailors. But even perfectly sewn animal skins had one major disadvantage. They were heavy. They could become wet. And every new piece of clothing depended on a successful hunt. Humans began looking for something completely different. This time, the answer wasn't running through the forest. It was growing from the ground. Level 5. When humans started wearing plants for thousands of years. Animal skins kept humans alive, but they weren't perfect. They were heavy, hot in warm weather, and every new outfit depended on hunting another animal. Then humanity noticed something surprising. Some plants had long, strong fibers hidden inside their stems. What if those fibers could become clothing? Across different parts of the world, people began harvesting plants like flax, weaving grasses, stripping bark from certain trees, and twisting natural fibers into long threads. Those threads were woven together to create the world's first fabrics. It was a revolutionary breakthrough. Unlike animal hides, woven cloth was lighter, cooler, and much easier to repair. If one part tore, it could often be patched, instead of replacing the entire garment. Soon after, humans invented one of history's simplest but most important tools, the loom. By crossing threads over and under each other in a repeating pattern, people could produce larger pieces of fabric faster and with greater consistency than ever before. For the first time, clothing wasn't limited by hunting. It could be made from fields. But another discovery was about to change everything again. Instead of wearing wild plants, humans learned to farm the very materials they needed. Level 6, when clothes became a sign of power. As agriculture spread, people no longer depended only on wild resources. They began raising sheep for wool, growing cotton, cultivating flax for fine linen. Clothing became softer, more comfortable, and available in greater quantities. But something unexpected happened. People stopped wearing clothes just to survive. They started wearing them to show who they were. In ancient Egypt, lightweight linen helped people stay cool in the desert heat. Wealthy officials and members of the royal family often wore finer linen than ordinary workers, while jewelry and decorative headpieces displayed status and influence. Farther east, silk became one of the most valuable fabrics ever created. For centuries, its production was closely guarded in ancient China, and merchants carried it across vast trade routes that later became known as the Silk Road. In the Roman Empire, certain shades of purple dye were so rare and expensive that they became closely associated with emperors and the highest ranks of society. For the first time in history, you could tell someone's wealth, power, or importance simply by looking at what they were wearing. Clothing had become more than protection. It had become identity. But despite these beautiful fabrics, there was still one problem. Every shirt, every dress, every robe still had to be made almost entirely by hand. That meant clothing remained expensive and time-consuming to produce. Then, a machine arrived that would completely transform fashion forever. For most of history, owning several outfits was a luxury. Many people had only one or two sets of clothes. If they tore, they were patched. If they became too small, they were passed down to someone else. Making a single shirt could take days, sometimes even weeks. Then came the Industrial Revolution. Machines that could spin thread, weave fabric, and power sewing equipment transformed clothing production. Factories could make garments far faster than individual tailors, while new transportation networks carried fabric and finished clothes across entire countries. For the first time, clothing became affordable for ordinary families. Fashion began changing more quickly. People could own work clothes, formal clothes, winter clothes, and everyday clothes. The invention of the sewing machine made production even faster, helping turn clothing from a handmade necessity into a global industry. Today, the fashion industry produces billions of pieces of clothing every year. A journey that began with one animal hide had become one of the world's largest businesses. But humanity wasn't finished innovating. The next generation of clothing wouldn't just cover your body. it would work with it. Look at the clothes you're wearing today. They may already be more advanced than you realize. Athletes wear fabrics that pull sweat away from the skin. Firefighters wear suits that protect them from extreme heat. Doctors wear protective clothing that helps reduce the spread of disease. Astronauts survive the vacuum of space inside highly engineered spacesuits that regulate temperature, provide oxygen, and shield them from the harsh environment beyond Earth. Engineers are now developing clothing with sensors that can monitor heart rate, body temperature, and movement. Researchers are experimenting with self-cleaning fabrics, recyclable textiles, and even 3D printed garments designed to reduce waste. The future of clothing may not just be fashionable, it may be intelligent. And if humans one day build cities on the moon or Mars, they'll need entirely new kinds of clothing designed for worlds unlike our own. Just as animal skins helped our ancestors survive the Ice Age, future spacesuits may help our descendants survive on other planets. Think about it. The clothes hanging in your wardrobe, the shoes by your door, the jacket you wear when it's cold, all exist because one ancient human made a simple discovery thousands of years ago. An animal skin could become protection. That single idea started a chain of innovation that never stopped. Animal hides became stitched clothing. Stitched clothing became woven fabric. Fabric became royal robes. Royal robes became factory-made fashion. And today, clothing protects workers, helps athletes break records, keeps astronauts alive in space, and allows billions of people to express who they are. So the next time you put on your favorite outfit, remember, you're wearing the result of tens of thousands of years of human innovation. But here's one final question. If we've gone from animal skins to smart clothing in just a few thousand years, what do you think humans will be wearing 1,000 years from now? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, because the next revolution in clothing may already be being designed today.